Hey, Forrest here. Nothing like getting paid. And with ICCU's mobile app, I can deposit checks or accept Zelle payments so the money hits my account fast. I just wish there was an app for mowing the rest of these lawns.
What? Dude. Fish on.
We don't need gimmicks like giant checks and mascots to promote this year's football contest because we're giving away even more money than we did last year.
$16 million in guaranteed prizes to be exact. There's 2 ways to win and no rake.
Players in Circa Millions make 5 picks against the spread each week with quarterly and full season payouts.
Circa Survivor entries select 1 team each week with no point spread. Last the longest to win it all. Visit circasports.com for details.
When I want Boise State to win, I trust Coach Rice to lead the Broncos to victory.
And when I want the best painting and garage floor coating, I trust rowpaint.com to get that job done right.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Today's broadcast is coming from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Canned Cocktails is perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Now, here's 4-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing, Boise State fans? Happy Monday to you. Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com. Yes, final couple days here back in my parents' basement, blogging like the best of them here in St. Louis, Missouri. So back here in Papa Rains' office, and we'll be doing the show today and tomorrow from here, and then heading back to Boise as we get set for football season, which starts a week from Wednesday. Week from right now, we'll be getting ready for the press conferences and getting you set and the players report, and then you got the first practice a week from Wednesday. So going to talk football this week a lot. Going to talk basketball as well and kind of mix these two together here before we dive in 100% all football next week with practice starting. We're doing our Mountain West basketball series, so we are going to talk to Kevin Kruger, the UNLV coach today. We got Nico Medved, Steve Alford, all those coaches still to come this week. So every day this week, we will talk to a Mountain West basketball coach as we continue our summer series looking at Mountain West basketball. We're also going to, this week, talk football in terms of our 5 most important players, to the football team all week, starting with number 5 today. Mike Prater is going to join me in just a couple of minutes, and we'll dive into Malachi Nelson, who is our number 5 player today, and his importance to the CFP bid that Boise State is trying to make here in 2024. But first, man, as It's Keaton says, tough showing for Abu and TBT Sheese. Tough one last night. We've been following this journey for the last 2 months or so, having the players on each week as we were announcing the roster, and we were out there all last week at the practice and the scrimmage and the Bronco Legends Classic last Wednesday. And man, it was fun to watch. They got the win in the first game. They beat the Enchantment. They take down the New Mexico alumni team. Really nice performance. They get their first ever win in the TBT tournament. But last night, a tough one there. I mean, shout out to Justinian Jessup, 24 points for him. You had 16 points for Thomas Broplay, Abu Kijab with 12, Najee Smith, Derek Marks with 10 each. But I didn't get much of anything from the bench. And that Elam ending, they had the lead. They were up, I think, 76-73 at one point. The target score was 79, and they just couldn't get a shot to fall. I think they missed their last 9 shots from the field. They kind of knew they needed a 3 to win it, and were just jacking up some threes and not all great shots. Justinian Jessup had a wide open one that would have won them the game. Couldn't get it to fall. And again, just a tough one. I think they went 0 for 7 from 3. 0 for 2 from 2, and even missed 2 free throws. So literally the last 11 shots they took late just couldn't get one to fall. Even the wide open layup that I think Thomas Broplay had didn't get it to go as well. And if you don't think the crowd doesn't make a difference, I mean, they had a nice crowd there in Houston for the Houston Regional, and I thought Houston certainly got the whistle there in terms of some of the calls. Seemed like they were in the bonus pretty much the entire time. So I know the goal is to host this tournament in Boise next year, and that would be awesome if they could pull it off, host the regional in Boise. And they had over 700 fans at Bora High School. They're supporting the team on Wednesday night at the Bronco Legends Classic. And I think that certainly if they could pull it off and get it in Boise and get some fans in the stands, that might make a difference, because I really thought Houston had the crowd behind them. They had the officials on their side. I just thought it was a tough one there for Boise State. But again, Houston had Kelvin Sampson working the refs and directing players. Yeah, he was essentially coaching on the sidelines there. That was I did notice that a couple of times. But yeah, a couple free throws that were big misses, I think, from Bro Play. Again, they had a couple layups they missed, and then 7 threes. They had 7 chances to win the game once they got to 76 points, and they just got a little too happy with the 3. I mean, it's hindsight's 2020. They probably should have tried to work it inside, keep the normal offense going, and get a 2, and then you only need another 2. But you need 2 2s or 1 3, and what's easier and quicker to happen? And they took 7 3-point attempts. Missed all 7 of them and just couldn't get it done. But I thought Justinian Jessup, again, he had 24 points in this one, 16 for Bro Play, as I said, Key Jab 12, and then Marks and Najee Smith for 10. So really tough loss for once a Bronco. But again, I thought the foundation was set. James Reed did a tremendous, outstanding job with this thing, getting it going again. And hopefully they can make this a yearly thing. Hopefully they can make the Bronco Legends Classic a yearly thing. And that would be really, really cool. And so tough loss. I mean, they were, essentially already, pretty much almost, they were just so close to the Sweet 16. I mean, they were right there, just needed one more shot. And Max says the refs were miserable bailing out Houston at the end, but our shooting just disappeared. Yeah, that's what it came down to. Couldn't make a shot. 0 for 9 to end the game from the field when they needed essentially 1 3-pointer, which would have got them to 79 and won the game. So, tough one for once a Bronco, but as I said, hopefully the foundation has been laid. Hopefully they are, in a spot where they can make this a yearly thing and host it in Boise next week. That would certainly be, or next year. That would certainly be really, really cool if they could do that. So James Reed, I mean, it was a ton of work that James Reed put into this. He worked really, really hard to get this thing going. And if you were a Boise State basketball fan, I know football season's coming. I know 99.9% of you, all you care about is football, day and night. But for the diehard basketball fans out there, and if you've been following this program for the last decade or so, to be able to watch a game last night and get invested in it and have Derek Marks and, Najee Smith and, Justinian Jessup and Thomas Bro Play and Max Rice and all these guys out there on the court, Marcus Shaver Jr., if you were a diehard basketball fan, that had to be pretty cool. And so, yes, they lost, but at least they won on Friday. They're able to extend it to Sunday. You got to have a little bit of a sweat in the summer watching Boise State basketball and yelling at your computer and getting excited. And I just thought it was a really cool thing. I thought it was kind of, I guess, not surprising. I mean, here's AP saying sounds familiar. I mean, it's I saw a lot of that on my Twitter feed, fans taking shots at Leon and the current staff and, Boise State basketball, some things never change and all that. And it's just, it is what it is. Some people are going to troll no matter what. And some people, call themselves quote unquote fans that just wait for something to go wrong so they can rip it. We're used to it by now. And they had their chance in the summer as well to jump on board. So Sky says it was cool. Thanks for the coverage. And so, we had a lot of fun. It was really cool following their journey. And again, did it go the way they wanted to? No, but they won a game. First time they've ever won a game in the TBT. They won a game. They got to the second round. They were right on the cusp of the Sweet 16. And so if you're a Boise State basketball fan, a diehard fan, which I know there are some of you out there, that had to just be really cool to be rooting at your TV and having a sweat here in July for a meaningful basketball game. So it was cool. At least they got that first win. Congrats to James Reed and company for getting off the schneid, getting their first win in the TBT. And then now they can, like I said, turn their attention to hopefully host the regional in Boise next year at Extra Mile Arena. I think that'd be really cool if they could pull it off. And hopefully some of those guys that couldn't play or didn't want to play, the Anthony Drimmicks, the James Webbs, Chandler Hutchison, hopefully those guys saw how cool that was. And I need to be a part of that next year. Cause let's face it, they had a good roster. They did not, and this is no disrespect to anybody on the team. It's just fact. They did not have the 10 best former Boise State basketball players that are still playing currently on that team. And so I think they did good. They won a game, but the roster could be even better moving forward if they can get some of those guys that are out there playing professionally. I mean, Derek Alston Jr. signed a contract like a week ago and had to withdraw. That certainly hurt. And so, it was a fun experience. Jordan says agree. BJ had a blast getting into it. Feel bad for the folks that can't enjoy sports unless their team is the champion. They will build on it. Jumpin' Idaho says so. I need DA to give Jessup another scoring threat on the wing. I agree. Yeah, Melinda says it was cool, super cool. Hope they can make it work next year in Boise. Malad and Armouche, I'm seeing some shout outs for. Yeah, that would have been cool. So the plan is for them to try to persuade, TBT. And there were no Western regionals, so I think they'd like to have one out west. Houston and Wichita were the closest ones, and so that'll be the goal next year again as they continue to expand this tournament. And I mean, the championship game is on regular Fox here next week or whatever. I mean, it's got a nice TV contract for it, and so we'll see what happens moving forward. But again, congrats to James Reed. Congrats to the program for getting that first win and building a foundation, getting a fan base behind them. As I said, making this a cool thing to do that I think fans are going to want to come to next year and look forward to, and I think the players are going to look forward to this. And this is going to become the cool thing to do, hopefully moving forward for Boise State basketball. So I know we're going to transition to football here for the rest of this show and for, the foreseeable future here in terms of, football coverage moving forward. But if you're a diehard basketball fan, that was pretty darn cool and hope you enjoyed it. And again, congrats to James Reed and company for what they are doing. We are going to get back to basketball at the end of the show. UNLV coach Kevin Kruger, as we continue our Mountain West basketball series here, talking to the coaches. And this is going to be a fun week. We still got UNLV, we got Colorado State, we got Nevada. We got some big-time teams that we have not aired their interviews yet. I think Utah State as well and Air Force are the 5 this week. So a lot of prominent coaches around the league. We're going to talk Mountain West basketball as we kind of weave in football and basketball this week and then go all football next week with the start of fall camp. Mike Prater going to join me in just a second, talk some football, talk Malachi Nelson. But first, Cutwater Spirits, more than 35 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails. Pick one up at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Spirits, perfect for that next game day, a tailgate party. RowPaint.com is our title sponsor. Again, there would be no Bronco Nation news, folks, without Andy Rowe and RowPaint.com. So please support the sponsors. Make this all work. ROEPaint.com is the website. And again, concrete coatings, residential painting, industrial, commercial, all your painting needs. Please think of RowPaint.com. Idaho Central Credit Union. We're 2 episodes into season 2 of the Tyson Degenhardt Show. That was fun catching up with Alvaro Cardenas and Javen Buchanan on last week's show. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. Again, there's a branch pretty much on every corner, but the easiest and most accessible is that one in your pocket on your mobile app with the eBranch online banking and the ICCU app. So download it now and make the switch today. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate, number 1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley. And the Raines family found out firsthand why that is the case. Kelly, Cade, Sarah, Matt, whole team were tremendous, helping us sell our home, then helping us buy a home. And we're very thankful that we went with the sponsor and Matt Bauscher, Bauscher Real Estate. So any home, size doesn't matter. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, make sure you check out Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate, 243-8222 or online at BauscherRealEstate.com. And Ridley's Family Markets, shopridleys.com is the website. Again, shopridleys.com if you're looking to head up to McCall for the weekend or head out of town. I highly recommend the McCall one right there as you get into town. They've got the locations in the Magic Valley as well. So shopridleys.com. Check them out. We appreciate Mark Ridley and our friends at Ridley's Family Markets. All right, we're going to bring in our man, Mike Prater. There he is. Mike Prater, you had a vacation. You had all kinds of fun, and now you're back at it here getting ready for football season. How we doing, Mike?
I'm doing well, BJ. How are you? It's always tough to come back on vacation on a Monday morning, but I know it's a good time between basketball and football, and I'm ready to go. I can only spend so many days in the mountains. I miss guys like you and Johnny and JP and Bob in the gang, so I'm ready to get after it. Let's go, bud.
Now, I had my hat here today, and I was thinking of wearing it backwards, but I saw your tweet the other day. I'm not sure which direction you were going, if you were wanting to do it yourself or if you were ripping on people that happen to wear their hat backwards. I know myself, John Mallory, Jay Tuss, at times we all may still wear the hat backwards. What was the impetus of the post there?
Obviously, the golf tournament in the British Open. Not everybody. A couple of the ugly Americans were wearing theirs backwards because of the weather, and rightfully so. When you get in that kind of weather in the world, making fun of people wearing their hats backwards is a little silly. We have plenty of other things to worry about in this country. Now, with that said, I will say that it was a personal deal for me because I used to wear my hat backwards just like you and Jay and Johnny and all the cool kids. But, the wife told me that I'm too old to turn it backwards. So it's a point of contention in my house. camping in the woods the last 10 days. I was able to wear it backwards all the time, but nobody saw me except a couple of bears and a couple of birds. So now that I'm back in public, I've been told I have to wear my hat forward because I'm too old. And I was just true in a straw poll. Apparently you and Johnny are not too old, but apparently I am too old to wear it backwards.
I was going to say, next time I see Tempe, I'm going to have to ask about the age limit there because I don't want to offend her next time she's watching the show and I'm wearing my hat backwards and you're not there. So,
exactly.
That's the old debate. Hat backwards, wearing a player's jersey. What's too old for that? I mean, I always subscribe to the retro jersey. If you wear a player that's like, I'll wear an Ozzie Smith jersey, but I won't wear like a Paul Goldschmidt jersey. Like I'll go with the retro, like guys from 20, 30 years ago. I feel like that's a little different.
Yeah,
if you want to wear a Wayne Gretzky jersey instead of, a Jordan Kyrou jersey, I think that's probably okay. But those are always the old, But yeah, I was literally about to go hit the hat today, and I said, "Oh, I don't want to upset Mike Prater, but I guess I don't want to upset Tempe. So maybe I have to figure out moving forward what that age limit is."
You got the full green light from Prater, so no problem there. And
you're gonna live vicariously through me with me wearing my hat backwards, since you can't, I guess.
I love it.
Let us know in the chat what you think. What is too old to have your hat on backwards? My wife probably says I'm way past that if I actually asked her. So
it's a great debate apparently because they got a lot of traction on both Facebook and Twitter in terms of the divide. It's a classic Prater debate, 50-50. Some people think it's ridiculous. Some people think, hey, just do you. It's a freaking hat. You can wear it any way you want. So I love the debate. Anytime you can get a debate with great divide like that, and there's really no clear answer. It's just kind of fun, but I love that debate.
Before I forget, I want to mention our friend Alex Guerrero and Gridiron Dreams. They have a football camp coming to the Twin Falls area, Canyon Ridge High School. It's this weekend coming up. GridironDreams.net. You can get the information there. But Matt Lauder, Ahmed Hassanin, Maddox Madsen, Tyler Crow, Prince Strawn, and Jake Ripp will be out there in Twin Falls this weekend. Canyon Ridge High School. It's ages on Friday and Saturday. It's ages 12 to 18, and then on Saturday it's ages 6 to 11. So if you're in the Twin Falls, Magic Valley area, and you want to see some of the Boise State football players before they get really busy with camp, Gridiron Dreams Football Academy has a cool camp. They're going to Twin Falls, and again, 6 players. Some other folks are going to be there. It's this weekend, Friday and Saturday, Canyon Ridge High School. And you can get more information, GridironDreams.net. All right, we're starting a series, Mike, and again, we've in previous years we've done 20 players, 20 questions. We've had just a lot going on with vacations and trips and other stuff we're covering, and so with media days getting moved up a week this year, that kind of screwed things up as well. So I'm kind of cutting it down to 5 players just so we can have a little bit of individual player talk here. Maybe this morphs into battles at positions, which today might, and other things, but essentially 5 players that are the most important to this team's success. And you guys have done the pre-spring, the post-spring rankings, and I purposely did not go back and look at yours last night when I was making mine to kind of see how similar or close we are. And today I've got Malachi Nelson at number 5, and I think you could argue that's too high because if something happens to him, you have Maddox Madsen, you've got 2 QBs there. It is maybe the QB position in general number 5. I will preface this, Mike, by saying I like Maddox Madsen. I think he's a solid player. If he had to be the quarterback or if he ends up being the quarterback, it's not the end of the world for this football team. But I think if Boise State wants to be in the CFP and they want to do some really big things this year, in my opinion, by the end of the year, Malachi Nelson needs to be the starter and needs to be the one that I think he has a better chance of a higher ceiling of getting them further, in my opinion, long-term. And tell me I'm crazy. I might be, but I think they'd be fine, especially early in the season if Maddox Madsen had to be the starter. But the higher ceiling, if they really want to make this national buzz and get to the CFP, in my opinion, that's got to be behind Malachi Nelson. I've got Malachi Nelson at number 5 on our most important players here.
Ooh, yeah, well, let's debate this one. I'm not sure I believe any of that. I do believe that the ceiling is definitely higher for Malachi Nelson. Absolutely 100%. There's not even a debate there. The ceiling is higher. And ultimately, we're going to have to see that ceiling over these next 4 to 6 weeks. I'm not putting Malachi Nelson in my top 5, and he's not anywhere near as important as Maddox Madsen is as we sit here today. I can't wait for this fall camp and wait to see how it develops. But here's my theory on this. Malachi Nelson came here for a 2-year deal, and Malachi Nelson hasn't played significant football in more than 2 years. And Malachi Nelson, is still struggling. Not struggling. That's not fair. We saw his transition in spring camp. I have no idea what he's been doing in the summer. I'm sure he's getting more acclimated and feeling better about this. But if we're talking about it right now, today, to me, Maddox Madsen is way more important than Malachi Nelson. I think Maddox Madsen, here's what I think is going to be one of the great debates in fall camp, if this is still kind of a 50-50 deal. Who can beat Georgia Southern on any given Saturday? And we asked Spencer Danielson that question at Media Days in Las Vegas in terms of what if Malachi Nelson's not ready? What if he's still the big picture guy, but on that particular week, he's still not ready in the eyes of Dirk Cutter, that Maddox Madsen is the better player, has more command of this offense for one weekend. We can't lose our patience. I'm one of the most impatient guys out there. I get in trouble for my lack of patience all the time, but I think we need to be patient with Malachi Nelson. Does that mean overly cautious? No. And Dirk Cutter will not be. He's going to push the buttons pretty hard on this deal. And maybe by the opener, Malachi Nelson is the quarterback. We'll see how that plays out. But I think it's more of a process over a couple of weeks, a couple of games. And I think Maddox Madsen can beat Georgia Southern better than I think Malachi Nelson can as he continues this transition. So where that line is in terms of all of a sudden Malachi becomes more important than Maddox, I don't know. Is it going to be week 1, week 5, 2026? I have no idea what the deal is, but I think Maddox Madsen sitting here today is way more important than Malachi Nelson.
You're not allowed to disagree with the guy writing your paycheck, are you, Mike Prater? Come on. But no,
I did say the ceiling part, and I agree with the ceiling. Absolutely. 100% agree with the ceiling, but I'm looking more short term, and I'm looking like a coach. I'm looking in the eyes of a coach. Who can best beat Georgia Southern on one Saturday afternoon to kick off this season? And right now I'm picking Maddox Madsen.
And I don't disagree with you on that. Actually, every day, I think we all do this, but every day I literally wake up and have a different feel of which one's 51, which one's 49, who's going to start the opener. And right now, as we sit here, Mike Prater, if I had to go down to Circa, which I'm going back down for the contest weekend in a couple weeks,
nice.
if I had to lay something down right now, I would say Maddox Madsen starts against Georgia Southern. Like I do. I think Maddox Madsen right now slightly over. And again, I've thought Nelson last week. I'll go back and forth, but right now I think I see a scenario where Maddox Madsen does start the season, but long term, later in the season, to get to the CFP, the higher ceiling, who can take this team further long term by the time the season's over, I believe that's Malachi Nelson. I believe at some point they're going to turn to Malachi Nelson, and he is going to become the quarterback of this team, whether it's week 3 or week 5, or if it's in the second half of the Georgia Southern game. I don't know when it's going to happen. Maybe it's from week 1 right away. But at some point, Malachi Nelson will become the starter of this team, and they're going to need him to lead them to a CFP bid if they want to get there in a Mountain West championship. And so that's why I guess you could have just put the quarterback position in general, but I've got long-term success, the ceiling, who can take this team further, in my opinion. And again, nothing against Maddox Madsen. I think if he had to be the quarterback every game this year, can they win the Mountain West? Yes. Can they contend for a CFP? Yes. But who, in my mind, I think right now, and just, someone mentioned the appeal of the, I don't know if I can find it here, but the notoriety, as far as CFP ramifications go, I feel the notoriety of a 5-star quarterback will be needed. I'm not sure how that plays into it. But I do, I don't know. I just have a feeling that Malachi Nelson's going to play into this at some point here, and he is going to be super important and probably end up having a more important role than Maddox Madsen by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with that. So we're kind of we're kind of on the same page, but also kind of disagreeing a little bit. I 1,000% agree with you. At one point, he is going to have to be the guy and the alpha male quarterback on this football team in the CFP dreams. I say that Maddox Madsen can best beat Georgia Southern. I'm not sure Maddox Madsen can take Boise State over a course of an entire season to the CFP. So, yeah, right. That transition is going to have to take place. There's no doubt about that. And Dirk Cutter's going to have to get into the emotions of these guys and the quarterback battle of these guys and deal with that transition. And nobody's better at handling that. He's got a great gut instinct, and he's going to be able to kind of figure that out in terms of what he wants. I trust Dirk Cutter to make that happen. So I can't wait to see what that happens, but it's just a matter of winning that first game, going to Oregon. I mean, come on, Malachi Nelson, again, hasn't played football for 3 years or whatever it is, and telling him to go on this brand new football team. He's going to have one hell of a camp, and then he's going to have to go off and just shock the world against Georgia Southern to give us that confident feeling going into the Oregon game. Now, you said that the notoriety, Malachi Nelson, the notoriety is going to help Boise State.
A fan
into the
said
CFP.
that, not me.
No, a fan said that. And the notoriety part, I'm fascinated by the notoriety part of this. Boise State won the offseason in the eyes of the national media because of the Malachi Nelson notoriety. There's no doubt about it. The national media, they love Ashton Genty. They're starting to love Ashton Genty. There was a time there where I wasn't sure that they were catching up with him. They love the 5-star recruit. So Malachi Nelson certainly, so that's helped Boise State get this notoriety. But notoriety means nothing if you can't beat Georgia Southern or if you can't beat Oregon. And I don't think notoriety matters starting August 31st. But notoriety was huge to give Boise State football this momentum in the offseason. Now you just need the best quarterback to go beat Georgia Southern. And back to my original point, today, I think that's Maddox Madsen.
And I don't disagree with you right now. If you say who gives you the best chance to beat Georgia Southern, I probably would agree right now. I'm also jaded a little bit, Mike, on the end of spring and the spring game and what I saw from Malachi Nelson. Again, the first spring practice, we were out there. He was dropping snaps. He was throwing interceptions where there was nobody within 30 yards of him. But by the end of the spring, I was sitting in the end zone at like the last Wednesday or Thursday practice before the spring game, and he threw a couple of dimes into windows that I thought the ball was going to hit me. There's nobody coming, and the guy would come over the middle out of nowhere and make a great catch in the end zone. I mean, he was the improvement that he made, and then the performance in the spring game, a couple of those really nice deep throws and some of the stuff that he did in the spring game also is kind of maybe, clouding my my perspective on this a little bit, that I'm expecting that. And I'm expecting him to continue to improve over the summer and build off where he was at the spring game and come in much closer to, 50-50 than maybe he was the first day of spring practice. So that's part of it too. And also the fact that we really haven't seen Maddox Madsen in any kind of official team stuff. He was out there in practice in a lot of the 7-on-7 and a lot of the, no contact stuff. And when they're not charging at you and they can't get you, I mean, he looked great. I mean, that was part of his problem last year was, he throws a nice ball. I just thought his decision-making at times, he threw some balls that just didn't need to be thrown, and he had several balls that got, the DBs dropped or didn't catch, that his interception numbers could have been a lot higher. And I thought that came down to his decision-making, not necessarily his arm strength or his throws. So when you watch in practice, yeah, he looks great. Maddox Madsen looks great out there because he's got nobody in his face. He's got plenty of time. He's just throwing routes to guys. So, maybe I'm a little jaded by what we saw at the end of spring with both those guys and trying to, project that forward. It's Keaton says college football 25 ranks Nelson 81, Madsen 76. Case closed. Someone tell Danielson.
So is that because Dirk Cutter goes by EA Sports numbers and we're done? Don't even need spring, or we don't even need fall camp. Let's just play video games all month of August and whatever the video game tells us to do, right? I've
already seen The Athletic. They ran the season 25,000 times or whatever and simulated it. And I guess in one of the 25 years, Boise State did win the CFP in this year in the game. So get ready for that. Carter Davis says, I think Nelson is a great at number 5. Don't think Maddox could carry us to a CFP like Nelson can. Let's see. Backwards hat depends on swag factor, not age, according to Jeremy there. You got some swag factor, Prater. Come on.
We both got a little swag factor, don't we? I think that's probably a nice phrase for ego, but yeah, we got a little swag factor, I'd like to think.
Guy says you're going with Madsen here because Prater saw Malachi wearing his hat backwards.
I'm busted. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. I don't even know if Malachi Nelson wears a hat, but he lives in that apartment in Meridian by himself. He's just a quiet introvert, and that's another thing you have to worry about. I'm not a great studier. Well, I'm a decent studier of people, but if you're an introvert, you're also always kind of questioning yourself, and the confidence factor is always kind of fragile. I think Malachi Nelson's a pretty confident dude inside, and Dirk Cutter's going to have to play that game a little bit as well in terms of his swag factor and how he's handling this. And, hurt feelings in college football, we certainly don't want any of that. And I have no idea if Malachi Nelson is the kind of the hurt feelings kind of guy. He's already transferred once. He's just looking to play. I get that. But there's definitely a mental game here that Dirk Cutter is going to have to be very aware of and very aware of in August.
Yeah, no doubt about that part. Nobody going to tolerate the 2 QB system. You can book that one this season. I did find it interesting, Mike Prater, that, he's been there 6-7 months or whatever. But I mean, Talon Green went to SEC Media Days. Talon Green is the Arkansas, face of their team already. And we'll see what happens on the field. But he apparently wasn't good enough to be the main quarterback at Boise State, but he's already in 7 months enough to be the face of Arkansas's football team.
Yeah, I'm going to be skeptical on that one. And I know you've always been a Taylor Green fan, mostly because of the way he was treated last year. And I firmly believe that. You're spot on. The way he was treated, jerked around, that was unprofessional and stupid. And I hope we never see that again. I'm not a big Taylor Green fan as a football player. I want to see what he does this year, and that might backfire on Arkansas, or maybe it'll backfire on me, and I'm just a big old buffoon idiot, and I have no idea what I'm talking about. So we'll see how that plays out. And there was one other quick point I was going to try to make, but I forgot what that was. That's what happens when you spend a week on vacation. You lose a lot of brain cells.
You could think about it here. We got a couple minutes left. Carter Davis says if Nelson can't be ready for a mid-tier Sun Belt team, then we shouldn't be talking about him.
Well, he's here for 2 years, guys. His dad said that to you. His dad said that to us on shows. He's here for 2 years. He's not here to win one football game on August 31st. Somebody said also, the point I was going to try to make was somebody said, no 2 QB system at all this year. And we all agree. We're all tired of that. And just the thought of that makes me want to vomit right now. But what if Maddox Madsen is the starter on opening day, and what we just talked about for the first time actually comes to fruition, and we're smart and we know what we're talking about, and whether it's week 2 or week 3 or week 4, here comes Malachi, and here comes that transition. Will it be a clean transition? What if Malachi goes into Oregon and all of us, what if he has a great game against Georgia Southern, and then he goes into Oregon and throws 5 interceptions? Because that's what happens when you go to Oregon sometimes. Is there a back door? Do we have to worry about Maddox Madsen coming in? Does that transition period look clean? Does it look gray? Does it look ugly? I'm really, really worried. I'm having PSTD flashbacks about the quarterback system because I'm not sure it's going to be clean this year. It's going to be better than it was before, hopefully, but I think that this conversation is going to continue for a few more weeks, maybe in a few more months.
Would you agree that it's probably easier for the coaches to start with Madsen and go to Malachi than to start with Malachi and have to go back to Madsen?
Ooh, that would be bad. The latter would be bad for the
when you go to Malachi, you're turning things over to Malachi.
Yeah, it'd be really easy to start Maddox against Georgia Southern and see how that plays out as this transition continues. And all of a sudden, week 2 or 3 or 4, here comes Malachi, and that transition can be clean. If you start Malachi and he struggles, and here comes Maddox, I see that being really ugly. I don't want anything to do with that.
Which maybe leans into their thinking in terms of starting with Maddox Madsen, because you have this 5-star kind of ace in the hole type thing waiting when you need it, and maybe you don't. And let's be honest, we all believe that. At least I believe that if you start Maddox, that Malachi still is the starter at some point this season. And if that's the case, I don't think you're pulling Maddox Madsen if they beat Oregon. You're not pulling Maddox Madsen if they win big at Georgia Southern to say, oh, well, he got his one game. Now we're going with Malachi against Oregon. No, Maddox Madsen would have to struggle, and or this team would have to lose for them to make a switch if they start with Maddox Madsen, no matter what the plan is. So, maybe it goes so south in the Oregon game in the second half, they give Malachi a chance and he does something and they decide to turn the keys over him to, for North Dakota or whatever the next week or whoever it is this year, Portland State, and just keep it going. Maybe that's a scenario I could certainly see happening. They win the Georgia Southern game. Everyone's feeling good about Maddox Madsen, and then he struggles against Oregon. They switch halfway, give Malachi some experience, and then turn it over to Malachi for week 3. I could certainly see that happening.
Yeah, no, I can too. I can too. So, again, this will all be cleaned up in August, and I don't think it's going to be 50-50. I think we're going to have a pretty good idea. And if the progression of Malachi Nelson continues, we saw that in the second half of spring camp. We certainly saw that in the spring game. Haven't seen squat this summer. Nobody's even talking about anybody doing anything this summer. So if that progression continues, if he shows up at fall camp and impresses us on the first day and just keeps grinding and continuing to get better, then Dirk Cutter is going to start Malachi Nelson, and Maddox Madsen is going to sit on the bench the entire season. And that's what the fans want. There's no doubt that the fans like the sexy new toy. Everybody knows that Maddox is a good dude, but he's 4'7". That's a joke. Everybody's worried about his height, and physically, his height is an issue. There's no doubt about that. I'm more concerned, as you said, about his decision-making that has nothing to do with height. His decision-making, to me, is the poor thing that he needs to get better at. But hopefully he got better over the last season, too, just like Malachi Nelson is trying to get better. Maddox Madsen can get better and be a better improved quarterback just like anybody else can.
I will stand by the fact, and I think you agreed, but I just feel like from a coaching perspective, it's much easier to start. Once you go to Malachi, I feel like you're kind of stuck with Malachi. You don't want to go back and forth, and I don't. So if you start Malachi and say he's our best chance, I really think you're rolling with him. I don't think all of a sudden week 2 you can bench him for Madsen if it doesn't go well at Oregon. I feel like the other way around, if you start Madsen, you can go to Malachi midway through the season or whatever and turn it over to him, and that's just an easier transition, I think, from a coaching perspective to pull that off. Clint says Madsen is more important at this point, more pressure to be good if Nelson at this point from where we are at. Let's see. It's experience versus hype. It's up to Malachi to live up to the hype. He's not 5-star by chance. Cutter is smart. Let's not play the 2 QB there. Maddox is an amazing player, made some huge throws. Glad I don't have to make that decision. Good luck, Cutter. Let's see. Scott says Madsen is the easy pick since he knows the playbook better. Malachi will continue to improve, but at the end of the season, we will need Malachi. Let's see. My guess is Madsen starts. Malachi will see playing time as well in the second half. Maybe we'll see what the score is. You're on record as saying, and I agree with you, but I mean, I'm not sure I've gone quite as far as to say they're going to lose. But that Georgia Southern game, people are kind of overlooking maybe a little too much.
Yeah. And I haven't predicted it, but I've certainly talked about it, and people think it's a prediction. But, I've talked about the possibility, as we all have. And I don't care how much of a fan you are, you've got to look at the possibility of an 0-2 start. Georgia Southern is not a freebie. This is a football team, Boise State, that still has issues, and this isn't Boise State of old, so we'll see how it plays out. Certainly Clay Helton's doing some nice things with that team down there. If everything goes according to plan, Boise State should win this football game by a touchdown or more, according to the boys in Vegas, but there is no guarantees whatsoever, so we'll see how it plays out. The Oregon game, I think that is going to be a loss as we sit here right now. Boise State starting 0-2. If I had to predict right now, Boise State starts the season 0-2 and finishes 10-2.
Any chance at 10-2 with 10 wins in a row, they could still be in the CFP hunt?
Liberty. That stupid football team, Liberty. Last year, I know they got a horrible schedule, but that doesn't matter. If they go undefeated, I think they're going to be in the play. If they lose one game, they're gone because of that schedule. We would ditch Liberty so fast if they just lost one game, but until they lose a game, and against that schedule, I'm not sure that they are. So 0-2 would be a brutal, devastating shot to Boise State CFP chances, I think.
Jump in Idaho says, agree with Prater. Not sure which part, but Jump in Idaho agrees with you. Prater is no buffoon, Bill says. So you got some love on here. People are agreeing with you, Prater. Let's see if we got any final ones before we get out of here. If Liberty has one loss, they're done easily. With one loss from Liberty, yeah.
100%.
But undefeated over 2 losses, Boise State, they probably have to take them. But if it's 2 versus 1, Liberty is just annoying, cupcake schedule constantly. Let's see. If we're talking about Georgia Southern not being a freebie, then we have no business talking about Oregon or even the CFP. Let's not start that, according to AP.
Fair.
So should be interesting. Again, I think maybe I should have lumped in the quarterbacks together, but I just personally feel that the better long-term ceiling of this team going further. And again, when you're talking positive about one guy, this happened last year. Like, I was a Talon Green guy last year, Mike, but I was not an anti-Maddox Madsen guy, and that comes off sometimes as if you're hyping up one guy that you don't like the other guy, and that's not necessarily the case here. I like Maddox Madsen. He's a solid player. Can they win a Mountain West championship with him? Yes. I think a lot of teams in the Mountain West would probably love to have a Maddox Madsen on their roster, so it's nothing negative against Maddox Madsen if he or his family is watching or whoever it gets back to these guys. I have no problem with Maddox Madsen whatsoever. I just think that long-term, last year I thought Talon Green was the better option, and this year I think that long-term for this team to really have that chance at a CFP, I think that the Maddox or Malachi Nelson is the long-term answer for this program.
Yep, I can't dispute that. So I think at the end of the day, we're all on the same page when it comes to like November, December, maybe even October if things can get smoothed out before then, but starting August 5th, all the way into that first couple of weeks of the season, getting through that first 2-game grind, there's a lot of mystery. There's a lot of gray, and I cannot wait to see how it plays out. That's why we play these football seasons, and it's really exciting. It's really exciting to go on vacation. It's really exciting to come back and have these storylines right in front of you. Next Monday, a week from today, we're going to interview all these coaches. I cannot wait to talk to Dirk Cutter about, in terms of the summer and how this progressed and how this football team, and this quarterback battle progressed. I don't know if it advanced at all in the summertime. The 7-on-7s, the player versus player stuff, the decks, all that kind of stuff. I'm very curious about the body language and what coaches felt like coming away with Maddox Madsen and Malachi Nelson. And then when we see him out on the field for the first time at fall camp, I cannot wait to see how this shakes out.
Oh, it should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. Going to transition, Mike, back to basketball. I know you guys 3 to 6 today, Idaho Sports Talk. I know you'll have plenty of football talk, a lot of stuff getting ready. And how about they just announced, sure you'll mention it today, but LeBron James getting to carry the USA flag. That's pretty cool.
I like it. I probably would have picked Simone Biles because she represents more of the Olympic field to me, but I certainly understand LeBron. I believe, and I'll go back and check, this is a vote of peers, and if the peers voted that they wanted LeBron James to lead them into the opening ceremony on Friday night, that's pretty cool. By the way, the opening ceremony Friday night, I know it's going to be kind of weird. There's a couple of Boise area high school kids, athletes, that are going to be in this thing, but the opening ceremony on Friday night from Paris, the athletes will not be walking around a track like they always have in the past. They're actually going to be floating down a river. So LeBron James, Titanic style, will be floating down the river at the front of the boat, waving an American flag, and I cannot wait to see that kind of crazy nonsense.
Yeah, first basketball player, I believe, for Team USA to lead him in with the flag. So that is pretty cool, and what could be probably his last Olympics he gets. That's a cool honor for him. So I know you guys will be all over that and everything else going on in the world of sports today. 3 to 6 with Prater and Johnny and the whole crew there, JP, Bob. So I'm going to get to my Kevin Kruger interview, Prater, but I will let you roll. Appreciate you as always for joining us, and look forward to doing it again here soon.
Can't wait till next Monday. Quarterback battle. Woo!
Sounds like a column. Get to work, Mike Prater.
I'll do it. Thanks, bud.
All right, there he is, Mike Prater. Appreciate him for joining us again. We're going to hear from Kevin Kruger. Don't go anywhere, head coach at UNLV, here in just a second as we continue our basketball series. That's good stuff from Kevin talking UNLV basketball. Lithia Ford of Boise. Check them out, lithiafordboise.com. Their anniversary sale, a lot of great stuff going on at Lithia Ford of Boise. And again, you can do what the Raines family did. We went and, online, lithiafordboise.com, found a couple that we liked, did all the research, went in, we're ready to test drive them, saw it in the lot. Oh, there it is. And we were on our way a lot sooner probably than you maybe if you just show up. So do your research ahead of time, lithiafordboise.com. And please consider our sponsor, Lithia Ford of Boise, for your next car or truck purchase. And again, throw it out on social media, man. When you buy the vehicle, post a picture. Let us know that the advertising worked like our friend Robbie Robinson did. And we really appreciate that. But again, check them out, lithiafordboise.com. Taco Bell, I saw Stan Nicolason at the Bronco Legends Classic game last week. TacoBellWorks.com is the website, TacoBellWorks.com. You can get more information on the SON Management Group, the Nicolason family, and everything they're doing in the community. So TacoBellWorks.com. Check them out, SON Management Group, the Nicolason family, Taco Bell, TacoBellWorks.com. And they got great food, and they're also hiring too. So check them out, TacoBellWorks.com. The Blue and Orange Store, Travis Hawks and Company, we appreciate them. BlueandOrangeStore.com. Check them out, the BlueandOrangeStore.com, for all your Boise State gear and apparel. And you can check it out there online, the BlueandOrangeStore.com, right there on the second floor of the Boise Town Square Mall next to Pro Image. Transportation Compliance Service, TranscomService.com. Check them out as well if you're looking for a job, getting into the trucking industry, maybe thinking about it. All the permits and things you need, they can help you out. Transportation Compliance Service. Hey, you looking to go down to Vegas with us in a couple of weeks? We're about a month away. We'd love to have you join us. We're entering the contest. They got some open bar events with the owner. There's a pool party with free booze all day out at the pool at Stadium Swim. It's week 0. So there's some college football games to bet on and watch on Saturday. And the offer still stands. You come on down, as the Draper family are, as Connor Johnstone are. We will, as some others are, we will buy you a steak dinner at Barry's. So come on down. You get a discounted hotel room. You get to go hang out and have a nice meal. And you get to enter these contests and win some real cash potentially at Circa. So it's all legal using our proxy, Tom Carroll, VegasFootballProxy.com. You just have to sign up in Vegas or have us sign you up in Vegas. And then you can make your picks each week in Idaho or anywhere in the world using our proxy, Tom Carroll. So more information to come. And again, we appreciate our friends out at Vegas Football Proxy and, of course, at Circa Resort and Casino. All right, Bronco Nation news. We're back. We're talking Mountain West basketball. We're having fun catching up with the coaches around the league. And one of the more intriguing teams last year, heck of a run there late in the season, did some damage in the Mountain West and made a run in the NIT. UNLV, Coach Kevin Kruger joining us for a couple minutes. Coach, appreciate your time. How you doing?
Doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. Really appreciate your time and jumping on. And man, what a season last year, Coach. If you just had avoided 1 or 2 losses, you might have been in such a different position. Obviously want to spend 99% of this interview looking forward, but for you, as you tried to, process last year and use that to help you build the roster and things for this year, how do you look at, what you guys did and where you needed to improve and how you build off of that?
No, I think you were 100% right. We had so many good wins. I believe we had 8 quad 1 wins, or 7 quad 1 and 8 against teams in the tournament. I mean, a lot of, if you just look at it from on only the positives, there were a lot of teams in the tournament that didn't. So we knew we were capable. We knew we were right there. But like you mentioned, just maybe 1 or 2 that just stubbed their toe a little bit and cost us. And I think just great experience for the guys, great experience for us as a group to understand how important each possession is and each game is. Because even that being said, being counted out multiple times and then being there at the end, I think should do nothing but give this group confidence that let's get off to a better start. Let's take care of ourselves. Let's do what we need to do to focus in early so that we can enter January and February maybe on the other side of like, hey, let's keep getting better. Let's keep focused and we're in, instead of like, hey, let's go on a run here and make things interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I remember you guys came to Boise and had that really nice win at Boise State. And at the time, a lot of Boise State fans, whoever, like, wow, oh, what a bad loss or whatever. And then you look at what you guys end up doing and the run you went on, and it was like, no, that was the start of something special. I mean, you guys beat New Mexico twice, I believe. You beat San Diego State. I mentioned Boise State. I mean, I hate to say it was one game, but I mean, literally that Southern game. And but I mean, just the Mountain West showing that you guys could compete. You finished as the 4th seed in the conference tournament, I believe, but just to prove that you could beat, pretty much any team in that league, I would assume for the players that are coming back, that's got to be a lot of confidence.
It is, no doubt. Like you said, I mean, we sent 6 teams and we finished 4th, and had a good record against the 6 teams that went above 500. And so, just little things like that. Of course, you can cherry pick as much as you want, but here in the summer, why wouldn't you, right? You want to focus on the good things that happened and talk about the things that we want to build on and do again. Of course, we're always going to talk about what we did wrong and what we can do better, but no, we want to focus on how things felt when we were confident and playing well, and there was a lot of that last year. A great non-conference win in Creighton, and then of course some really good wins in conference as well. So a lot of things to be positive in going forward.
Well, you look at your roster this year, and obviously, there's no sugarcoating it. You lost some key players with the Boone brothers and Luis Rodriguez and Justin Webster and some guys, but you kept maybe your most important player, Deion Thomas Jr. You obviously have Rob Whaley back, Jalen Hill, some other guys. I know you had some nice additions in the transfer portal that I wanted to ask you about as well, but I guess let's just start with, Deion Thomas Jr. And there was some weird report that he was leaving and he was staying, and who knows what was going on there. But I mean, to have him come back and have him be one of the top point guards in the Mountain West to build your team around this year, what's his outlook for this year, and how nice is it to have a guy like that to build around?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, anytime you can have that point guard position be coming back and have that experience, and of course build off such a great year. That's nothing but positive. I mean, we were sitting there, having nothing but conversations with him and his family, and that we saw the report, same one you saw, I'm sure, and the fact that he was never actually in the portal, but he was probably going to another school is something that I guess we can talk about that in another whole totally off separate conversation about the level of tampering that would be. But I mean, just we had great communication with the staff and him and his family of always being on the same page, so that even when I saw that, I didn't even have to pick up my phone and call him immediately. It was something where I just sent him a quick text and said, something like, I don't even remember, because it was so non-dramatic on our side. And he was just like, I have no idea what's going on. And that was pretty much the conversation, just because there didn't need to be a sit-down meeting about it. But to have him back, while, like you mentioned, we lost a lot of experience. We did. We lost a lot of guys that had played a lot of games. But we also bring back a lot of guys that played together last year, which as we're learning as these years go on, the impact of the portal, how many you bring in, bringing back returning minutes with an expectation to have more significant roles has proven to be a key part of having a good growth and a good team. And we feel we've done that.
Yeah, touch on some of those other returners, Coach, whether it be Jalen Hill, and I know fans in Boise know all about Rob Whaley in the game that he had up there, especially the start to that game in Boise. But, having those two guys back and the development they can make, and I know Isaiah Cottrell and Brooklyn Hicks, you're expecting some improvement from them as well. But maybe if you could just touch on some of your other returners and why you're excited about them.
Yeah, just like you mentioned earlier, the finish that Rob had to the season, or not even the finish, just kind of from the midway point or just before Christmas on, and the impact he had. Brooklyn, even though his minutes were kind of up and down, which is pretty consistent with freshmen on such a senior-laden team, but his impact, or his approach, I should say, in the spring and so far this summer has been something that we have a lot of reason to have a high level of expectation for him in terms of impact winning. And then, of course, Isaiah Cottrell, spent most of his college career hurt. Last year, I think, was kind of the first year where he's actually felt good for most of the year. And so now coming into even a second year, building off that, Jacob Benarby coming off the redshirt year, I think he'll have great nights for us. And then, of course, Jalen Hill coming off the torn ACL, but also bringing now what will be 5 full years of college basketball under his belt is something that we're going to need because we're going to have some kind of where we were kind of more of a post-dominant team last year, throw it in, be much more deliberate. A couple of those guys that are going to be in the post for us this year are new. So we're going to have to, lean on the experience of the guards and lean on the experience of the veterans to make it all blend together.
Kevin Kruger, our guest for a couple more minutes here, the head coach at UNLV. And Coach, you had 5 additions, I believe, from the transfer portal, 3 freshmen as well. Let's start with the transfer portal additions. Obviously, folks here in Boise very familiar with one of them, Jace Whiting. But just in general, whether it be Jalen and he put up big numbers at Oral Roberts or some of the other guys, what excites you about the transfers?
I think it's just a group. I think where we've got a lot of guys that have good experience, but also have experience handling the ball. And when you talk about Jaden Henley coming from DePaul, even though he's 6'7", 210, he played a lot of point guard, handled the ball. So he's familiar with not only playing on the wing, but also the expectations of a point guard. So I think anytime you got a guy that plays multiple positions, there's a level of understanding of how things are supposed to go and what they're supposed to look like. Jalen Bedford scored it at a high level at Oral Roberts against some really good competition, especially early in the year. And then, Jace Whiting, as you mentioned, you guys are familiar with him. Steady hand, good shooter, good decision maker. I think it's just when you look at our guard group as an entirety, you just see a lot of guys that can make plays for each other. A lot of guys that can get downhill and put pressure on the rim. And hopefully we can create a lot of advantages for each other and a lot of open looks. Do
you see any of the 3 freshmen contributing right away?
I do. I think, James Evans is something, he's an incredible talent. He's young. So he's kind of piecing a little bit more together every day. As we all know, it's tough in today's climate, especially with all the transfers, for freshmen to go make night in and night out impacts. But he is somebody that has the potential and the possibility and capability, I should say, to get out there and make a play. And then Pop Njai, his length, his mobility, his knack for rebounding and blocking shots is something that I think you'll definitely see him playing early on, having a lot of opportunity to kind of have some trial and error, figure things out, and see if he can make an impact. And then, of course, Jacob Benarby coming off the redshirt year, somebody at 6'9", 6'8", 240 pounds, 230 pounds. He's somebody that we're going to need the physicality to go along with Bear Cherry from New Mexico Junior College, who's also another big body. We're going to need his physicality and his strength under the rim. So we're really excited about the newcomers.
As you kind of just continue to build this there, Coach, and get this program to where you want to be. I mean, it was crazy. I looked it up. I think it's been over a decade since UNLV's been in the NCAA tournament, 2013, I think. I mean, do you feel like, with where you're at, and I guess every year's now with the transfer portal and all this, it's hard to have a, 3, 5, 10-year plan, whatever. But, when you just look at where you're at and where this program is at, it sounds like you like your roster. How do you just feel overall about your talent and your team and where you're at right now?
I feel good. I think, 3 years ago when we got the job, I think, that we had to get, I think, 11 out of the portal. And while we loved that group, that was such a fun group to be around, we just didn't and we got better as the year went on. We just didn't have enough time together. I thought, one more month, we would have, I think, had another great month, and we would continue to get better. Unfortunately, when you bring 11 new guys together, it's tough. The second year we had 9, and then less and less. So I think for me personally, for this plan and this program, I think we've done what we wanted to do in that regard. We're bringing back a large bulk of our guys that played a lot of minutes. We're blending in guys from other programs that have had roles and expectations, but we're not bringing in anybody that's expected to kind of be the savior, if you will. And we're not bringing in 2 guys that we are expecting that. We're bringing in multiple guys that'll blend well with the returners so that they can all kind of make it work together. And yeah, to your point on UNLV, I mean, that was our first postseason appearance in 11 years, and that was our first postseason win, albeit not the NCAA tournament, in 16. And,
Wow.
And so here in-house at UNLV, I think we understand how hard it is to get to the NCAA tournament. We understand how hard it is to work every single day, because at the end of the day, you only have, depending on the year, you have 35 teams, 40 teams in the country selected. But wearing that UNLV brand across your chest it's different. It's held to a different standard because of what was done here for so long, where getting to the tournament was an expectation and winning games in the tournament was an expectation.
It feels like the last time or two I've been down there covering the Boise State game, the crowds have been bigger, more energetic, louder. I mean, how, as you're seeing Vegas turn into this, sports mecca of the world here, how have you seen UNLV try to get a piece of that pie in terms of the fans and the interest when you've got the Raiders and the Knights and everything, and baseball's coming, and who knows? But I mean, I think I see about every other day I'm seeing another neutral site game announced in Vegas with all these teams coming down to play. I mean, how have you guys tried to capitalize off of that, and how do you continue to get more fans and locals in the area, interested in coming out for UNLV basketball?
Yeah, I think we just got to keep doing what we're doing. We're getting people to games, getting people to workouts and practices to see the guys, getting the guys out in the community. The one thing that's nice about being at UNLV in this city, in this community, is we're kind of the day one program. 60 years ago when UNLV started, there was no Raiders, there was no Knights, there was no. And while that excitement's great, we love all the sports that can be here, as many sports teams as possible. It only helps, I think, the entertainment and the sports buzz in the city. When you go back to everybody that's born and raised here, or they moved here when they were young kids, UNLV was also always a part of it. So we have that ability, I think, to continue to build the crowds, to continue to get guys to stay here. Come play at home. I think we have as many locals on our team as we've had in a long time. So just continuing to kind of build that reputation. And like I said, I think here in-house, we understand how hard of a job it is to get it going and get to that tournament every single year discussion and possibility. But it's one it's been fun working on. And I think we're getting there, and this year's group should have a good chance.
Well, final thing for you, Coach, and appreciate your time. I know you don't know every roster and every player and every team in this league, but I mean, you mentioned 6 teams made the tournament last year and you guys finished 4th. How do you see the roster you have stacking up in this league, and what do you make of this league? Obviously lost a lot of good players, but there's a lot of good coaches that stayed and a lot of talented players still in this league. I don't know if it might be hard to replicate 6 teams again, but overall, just how do you feel about this league and where you guys kind of fit in that pecking order?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I don't want to get too long-winded, but because there's a lot of thoughts that go through my mind on that question. I've had great discussions with that, specifically with a lot of other coaches and media throughout the Southwest or the country. On one hand, you've got a number of unbelievable names that are leaving, right? When you talk about Jadon Ledee and Lamont Butler at San Diego State, who are Mountain West legends, not just school legends, Mountain West legends. Obviously, Isaiah Stevens. I mean, you could make the argument he's the best Mountain West player ever. I mean, and not to, I don't want to leave people out, but you talk about
Blackshear, Lucas, Max Rice, you go down the line.
You can go down the line with every team, but I think, so we may not have necessarily the out of the gate respect and notoriety that we had last year, just because we don't have those household names. But I think when you look at the coaches in the conference, I mean, Steve Alford's going to be in the Hall of Fame. If I'm sure he's in a handful of them already. Coach Rice is going to be. I mean, you can go down the list. Coach Miles, what he's done at San Jose. It's just the one thing I know as an opposing coach is that you're going to go out and you're going to have your hands full every single night, regardless if it's a household name where that gets your guys' attention really quick, like a Isaiah Stevens, or it's somebody that, maybe two guys that get the same job done. You're going to have to give the same level of respect to each opponent every night.
Well, I'm just happy, Coach, that they went to the 20-game schedule because that's my favorite road trip of the year. I didn't get to go to UNLV last year. Boise State didn't go down there. So I'm just thankful to have a guaranteed trip, at least one extra one a year now to Vegas. Always enjoy coming down there, and appreciate your time as always. We'll do it again, I guess, in October for Media Days. I think they're scheduling that again, so we'll look forward to catching up with you again then. And best of luck the rest of the summer. So I hope your team can stay healthy, and we'll talk to you soon, Coach. Appreciate your time.
No, thanks for having me on.
There he is. We appreciate Kevin Kruger for coming on. Hey, make sure you follow us on YouTube. We're 89 away from getting to 5,000. Help us get to 5,000 before the Broncos take the field for that first practice on Wednesday. We need 89 of you to hit that subscribe button in the corner. Tell your friends. Help us if you can. We need 89 more. Let's get to 5,000 before we kick off football practice next Wednesday if you can. So thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate you guys. Going to interview Tad Boyle, the Colorado coach, here shortly for Lindy's, and I will be back at it with Jay Tuss tomorrow. So appreciate all you guys for joining us, mixing some football, and some basketball all week. We still got Nico Medved, Steve Alford, some of your favorite coaches in the league still coming up this week on Bronco Nation News. So basketball and football talk all week, and then we'll switch back pretty much primarily to football starting on Monday with fall camp getting underway on Wednesday of next week. So have a great rest of your day. Thanks to Prater. Thanks to all you guys. If any news breaks, we'll have you covered at BroncoNationNews.com. Subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe at BroncoNationNews.com, and let us know. Appreciate you guys. We will see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. with Jay Tuss, Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com.